Welcome to the Teachers Need Teachers podcast, where we help new and beginning teachers navigate through those crazy first years of teaching so you can maintain your sanity and personal life. Here's your host, Kim Laprie.
Welcome to the Teachers Need Teachers podcast, a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kim Laprie, and this is the podcast for new and beginning teachers who don't want to just survive those first few years, but actually thrive. Today on episode 58, I want us to start thinking about the end of the school year. Depending on your schedule, this happens in a month, and for others, almost 2 months. Now, regardless of your timeline, the end of the year can be both a whirlwind and a mad dash to that finish line. The thing is, a lot of teachers struggle to end the year on a positive note aside from just being happy that it's done. And when you're new, so much pops up that you're unaware of that it can kind of feel like whack-a-mole. So today, I want to go over 4 areas that all teachers, whether you're new or veteran, can benefit from thinking about and planning for. So if you just take a little time on this now, those last couple of weeks are going to go smoothly. Now, be sure to listen to the very end of this episode because I'm going to discuss something that I have for you guys to help out with this end of the year stuff.
Hi, I'm Amber Harper, host of the Burned In Teacher Podcast, a proud member of the Education Podcast Network, just like the podcast you're listening to right now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual hosts. Be sure to check out our other podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com and get ready because the learning begins in 3, 2, 1.
So at this point in the year, many new teachers are just trying to make it to the end in one piece so that they can finally welcome summer break. They're not planning or preparing really for anything aside from handing in their keys and walking out the door. So with little to no prior experience, they assume that it's business as usual. And I can tell you that if you truly want to head out that door right behind the students, feeling completely carefree, playing Alice Cooper's School's Out for the Summer, blasting it in your car, you gotta plan ahead. So here are the 4 areas that you need to start taking action on now so that you can have a stellar end of the school year and with some semblance of sanity. So the first area is backwards planning and calendaring. Now, we know that we need to backwards plan our lessons, starting with the standards, but do we also similarly plan our activities? If you take a close look at your school's calendar, you probably have quite a few dates that, at first glance, seem insignificant. So perhaps you thought that it didn't apply to you until you realized that it affects your bell schedule. So maybe you teach high school and you thought, oh, well, I don't need to worry about the assembly on Thursday because it's for seniors. Well, if they changed the bell schedule and you had activities planned for that particular day, then that's something that you have to plan ahead for. Maybe you teach science and that's going to affect whether or not you can have a lab on that day. So maybe you have events calendared, but you haven't started preparation or even planning for those events. Or you didn't think about the fact that there was a field trip for the band kids, and that's going to completely thwart your plans for a particular assignment or project because a third of your class will be gone. So what you want to do is you want to start planning right now. Planning with the end in mind is the first step that you have to take. So take a good look at your calendar and figure out which events you must attend or which will disrupt your class time. And if you're not sure, ask a fellow teacher or your school secretary. Okay, the second thing that you need to think about and plan for is evaluating your classroom systems. So our class policies and procedures never have to be set in stone, even if it's something that you borrowed from a colleague that you really respect or a mentor. So while it could take a couple of years to know if this particular system works for us, it's really essential to constantly evaluate the way in which you run your classroom. So you don't want to just keep doing the same thing over and over again if it's not working. So I have to tell you guys, I remember when I switched from teaching band to English, I naturally followed the policies and procedures of my mentor. So I used her grading methods, her late work policies, her homework policies. So that meant that late work triggered automatic deductions in points, and homework was a large chunk of a student's overall grade. So, of course, this is normal for a new teacher to do. They would do whatever their master teacher or their cooperative teacher did because that's kind of the model that you have. In fact, I highly recommend this because it's best to try out what others have done and what they've, worked out over the years and see if it fits for you and see if you can adapt it to your particular teaching style and philosophy. But here's the thing. 7 years later, after switching over to English, my classroom runs and feels very different than when I started, particularly since I've moved to standards-based grading. I'm always a teacher learner, and so I've told you guys this before. Every year I reflect on what feels natural, what feels right, and also what I need to improve. So while the school year is still fresh in your mind, you need to sit and reflect on your classroom management, your grading, seating arrangements, things like that. Everything involved in your day-to-day teaching. If something in the way that your room runs just hasn't been quite right, or there have been issues, now is the time to figure out what you would change so that you can plan to implement it next year. But do not wait until you come back after the summer. Your brain will forget everything. It's definitely out of sight, out of mind. So go back and look through your grade book and look through the lessons that you taught, and maybe even look at some student work, look at some student data, and figure out what is it that when you taught it, you're like, wow, that didn't quite work out. I need to adjust it for next year, and write that down. It's really important to reflect while the school year is still fresh in your mind. So let's move on to the third area. This is organizing and packing. So I have to tell you that I have spent way too many summers coming back to school early to organize my classroom. I was just too exhausted to even think about cleaning at the end of the year. So I would just throw everything into a few boxes and I would lock them in the storage cabinet. And then I dragged my poor husband and daughter in to help me as manual labor. And we would organize my mountains and mountains of mess. And you guys, it was a lot. Now, because I failed to plan and organize, I also wouldn't remember which supplies I'd run out of. And you know what this led to? This led to me standing in those dreadful back to school lines with my future students. Can you imagine? So I'd have to go back to Staples or Office Depot or Walmart to re-up on my supplies, and there would be the kids that were going to have me that same school year. So you can just imagine how frustrating that is when there would already be enough to think about when you come back, and then now I have to stand in line and waste that valuable time. So if you take the time at the end of the school year to inventory your supplies, make your shopping list, and carefully pack up your room, then you're going to save yourself a lot of stress and frustration those first days back. The final area is preparing your room. Now, a lot of new teachers overlook this one because you're thinking, aside from packing up your stuff, what else is there to do? So many schools have their custodians do a deep cleaning over the summer since there's no students and there's very few staff. Each school I've taught at has gone so far as to remove all of the students' desks, remove all of the furniture, well, at least as much as possible, and they would either mop and wax the floors or shampoo the carpets. So if you want to ensure that your cart and your chair come back to your room, you need to prepare your room for that. This includes, wrapping cords around the source. So if you have an LCD projector, wrap that cord around the LCD projector and label it. You want to make it as easy as possible for the custodial staff to put your room back together the way it was. I mean, they try and they do a pretty good job, but they're not going to necessarily plug everything back. And when they take the stuff out of your room and you have everything on your desk, they're probably just going to shove it in a box or in your drawers. So if you want to avoid that, then you have to prepare your room. Also, if you're going to be changing classrooms and the custodial staff are going to move the stuff for you, then you want to make sure that you pack and label that and put down which room it's going to go to so that it ends up in the right place, of course. So you're probably thinking, all right, Kim, is all of this necessary? Here's the thing. Spending a little bit each day for a couple of weeks will make it so that you won't have to stay late on that last day of school to clean up or just sort of, haphazardly throw everything into boxes. And you'll be able to plan ahead for next year and start your new school year right. And I know it seems like a lot to think about this time of year, and you may be tempted to put this off to the point that it never gets done. But the way I see it, you've survived this year and you've earned the right to walk out that door stress-free and relax. Sometimes we just need someone to tell us exactly what to do, what steps to take, and basically guide us through this. It seems like there's so much to do, mainly because we don't really know what's involved. It's like, you guys, when you are driving somewhere that you've never been to, it seems so much farther when you're looking for it, and then coming home, it's a lot faster. So I've done something for you guys. I've put together a quick and easy course for you that leads you through all of the essential tasks you need to complete between now and the end of the year. It covers everything I've mentioned today and so much more, and goes into detail. And I call it the End of the Year Sanity Saver. This is a quick but impactful course that will take away the surprises and stress from the end of the year and guarantee a restful summer. And what I've done is I've also included resources for you to use so that you can organize everything in one place and refer to it year after year. And I'm sure that you just said out loud, dude, Kim, I don't have time for a course. I still have to teach, grade, take care of my kids, work out, and I have a life. I totally hear you. I totally get it. And this is why the videos in this course are short and bite-sized. We're talking like 1 to 5 minutes each with actionable steps. And it's not this long and boring, drawn-out course. I know that your time is valuable, so everything in the course will improve what you're already doing or teach you what you didn't already know. And this course is specific to just the end of the school year, which is a time that most people don't plan for. Nowhere else are you going to find such a comprehensive resource for ensuring that your end of the year will be free from stress and surprises. The last time I ran this, and this was last year this time, I had 90 teachers, both new and veteran, go through it. And I received a lot of positive feedback. So if you're a new teacher, this is stuff that you just don't know yet. And it's not your fault. Your colleagues just aren't thinking about the fact that you don't know what to do, or maybe they don't even have any systems in place themselves. You'll probably see them running around ragged that last week, staying late when everyone else leaves early for happy hour, or even worse, they're going to be coming back really early from their summer to clean up the mess. But you owe it to yourself to do what it takes to feel in control and to feel like you know what you're doing. Now, if you're a veteran teacher, I had quite a few go through the program, and a lot of them commented on how the topics covered were either great reminders or something they hadn't thought of before. So just because you're a veteran doesn't mean that what I teach in this course is going to be stuff that you already know. There's still going to be things that are new. And you know that you deserve the best end of the year where you can enjoy and cherish these last few months with your students. You no longer have to come a month before school starts and get everything ready. And for those of you that have been teaching a while, at this point in your career, you've earned the right to walk out that door stress-free and relax. So if you've been listening to this podcast for even a month or so, you know that I'm always giving you the best of what I know so that teaching will be easier. This course is definitely not any different. I want the end of the year to go smoothly for you. I want you to finally stop thinking, well, nobody told me that, and feeling stupid about having to scramble to get things together. I want you to stop feeling blindsided by yet another event or expectation that everyone forgot to inform you about. And I want you to know what to expect and plan for every end of the year. So in this course, I have 12 short lessons that you can watch during your nutrition break, your lunch, or even your prep. Then there's a resource that correlates with each of the lessons so that you can plan out and work out the details that I cover in the lesson. And if at any point during the course you have questions or you want feedback on your ideas, you guys know that you can definitely email me, or you can go in the Teachers Need Teachers Facebook group. If you're new, you need this. If you're a veteran who's always been frazzled at the end of the year or when you come back to school, you need this. So if you're ready, head on over to teachersneedteachers.com/EOTY, which is short for end of the year. And I'll also put the links in the show notes for you. But you guys, I know that this is going to help you out so much and make your end of the year awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I know you guys are busy, especially if you have state testing, which actually means that it's the perfect time to think about how to plan for the end of the year. And as always, have a fabulous week.
Thanks for listening to the Teachers Need Teachers podcast. Love this episode? Head over to Apple Podcast or Google Play to subscribe, rate, and leave a review.